As we've discussed before in previous videos, Sidious, like most Sith of his era, relied upon the knowledge and wisdom of ancient Sith. Sidious made this clear in the Book of Sith, a collection of writings compiled by Sidious himself. He wrote that he not only inherited the Sith archives upon the death of Plagueis, but he made it his goal to recover the most famous writings of the ancient Sith. Not retellings or the efforts of interpreters and historians, but their own words. Sidious would organize these findings in his Book of Sith, which included the work of both ancient and modern Sith. However, while the writings of some of the Sith were the product of the archives he inherited or recovered after the fall of the Jedi Temple, there was one work that Sidious purchased from an antiquities dealer decades before Order 66. And it would be the insights provided within this single work that would form the backbone of his empire and rule of the galaxy for over 2 decades. The Journal of Darth Malgus. In this video expose, I will describe these insights and explain how they were important to Sidious's understanding of the dark side and in guiding Darth Vader. Starting first with the importance Malgus's journal had for Vader, Sidious believed the ancient Sith Lord's writings would be of great value for his own apprentice. Created roughly 3,600 years before the outbreak of the Clone War, Malgus's journal chronicled almost 500 days of the Sith Lord's efforts in the Great Galactic War. While Sidious gained his own insights from the journal, as we'll see, he believed that Vader would benefit greatly from it as well, and passed it on to him, hoping that Vader would gain inspiration from Malgus's words. With Malgus being recognized as one of the most powerful Sith who ever existed in terms of pure strength and might, Sidious hoped he would serve as a prime example for Vader of how a wounded warrior could use their rage to sustain their power. This is interesting for many reasons, as Malgus was wounded in more ways than one, and Sidious's meaning could be interpreted in a number of ways. First, in terms of a wounded warrior, Malgus was literally just that. After leading a surprise assault on the planet of Alderaan, Malgus was heavily wounded in the battle, specifically in his duel with Jedi Master Satele Shan. The defeat left Malgus with damaged lungs and grotesque lacerations to his face, which would force him to wear a respirator for the rest of his life. And yet, despite the damage he sustained, Malgus continued to be one of the greatest warriors of his era, if not ever. Driven by his fury and rage, Malgus became even more powerful, and would go on to accomplish feats that would never be replicated again by the Sith who came after him. Clearly then, Vader and Malgus were similar in this way, and in providing his apprentice with the writings of the ancient Sith, Sidious would have hoped that Vader would learn to utilize his rage to sustain and structure his own power, even though he'd been seriously wounded as well. But one has to wonder if Sidious didn't intend for the journal to serve an even greater purpose for Vader, as Malgus wasn't just wounded physically, but also emotionally. As the journal makes clear, Malgus had a lover in Alina Daru. Just as Vader had previously loved Padme, the same could be said about the relationship between Malgus and Alina. As Malgus wrote in his Day 179 entry, "I think of you, Alina. As ever, the rage within me ignites when I think of how you've been kept from me. When I have achieved all I envisioned, I will have any companion I wish. Not even the Emperor would dare command otherwise." Vader was specifically drawn to this section of the journal, making his own note in the margins detailing his efforts to learn more about Alina and her ultimate fate. Of course, we know that Malgus ends up killing her after recognizing she was a weakness that could be used against him by his enemies. And while this fate isn't revealed within the section of the journal obtained by Sidious, I believe there's more than enough there for the Dark Lord to imply that Malgus would have to eventually remove her from his life permanently. Regardless, the entry within the journal is more than enough to serve as a valuable lesson for Vader. More than just using Malgus as a prime example of a Sith warrior sustained by rage from his physical injuries, the journal would have value for Vader in showing him how he could ignite his rage by thinking of how the one he loved wasn't merely kept from him, but taken away forever. But the journal wasn't only important for Vader, but would serve as an important teacher for Sidious as well, teaching him about the value of anger and its applications through the dark side. Malgus's journal is filled with personal stories about how his rage resulted in immense power throughout the Great Galactic War. One such example was Malgus's description of his operation upon the planet Sereno. At one point during the operation, the ancient Sith recognized that he was consumed by rage as it tore through him. More than that, Malgus saw that his power came directly from his rage and fury. Examples such as this served as the basis for the conclusions made in one of Sidious's most important writings at the height of his power, the Book of Anger, which formed the first part of his manifesto. Sidious doesn't force his reader to speculate which ancient Sith Lord taught him the value of anger. Referring to Malgus by name, he wrote, "The writings of Darth Malgus confirm that anger, combined with will, is the key to power. When anger intensifies to rage, it is unstoppable. Malgus submitted utterly to the dark side." Thus, these teachings gained from Darth Malgus allowed Sidious to conclude that he would use the principles of anger to structure and maintain his galactic empire. As Malgus understood, it would be anger that would allow Sidious to obtain unmatched personal strength, weakness within his enemies, and enslave those who would be most useful to him. So there we have it, how Darth Malgus influenced Sidious's views on the dark side and served as an important example for Vader. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions? Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. Or perhaps follow us on Twitter at SW Reading Club for updates regarding the channel, or support the channel through Patreon for access to exclusive rewards and discussions. If not for me, for the cute couple.